Here is an interview with my father, Mr. Baltan, on his first-hand experience of the end of the Cold War, and this is when he was living in Canada during this time of the mid 80s. So, first question: how did the media and the Canadian people feel about the Soviet Union during the mid 80s?
Um, During the mid 80s, it seemed like we were always at the brink of some kind of escalation of war. And generally speaking, in American and Canadian media, people were fearful of the Cold War turning hot and either it being a conventional war or ultimately escalating to a nuclear war.
Okay, okay. And second question: in your opinion, what was and what caused the end point, the beginning of the end for the USSR?
Well, the beginning and the end of the USSR came rather quickly when you would start watching the nightly news and every day seeing protests, mass protests in Soviet republics and Warsaw Pact countries. And what I mean by Soviet republics, the Baltic republics of Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia were rioting and protesting for their freedoms. You started to see people tearing down the Berlin Wall, and you knew this was the beginning of the end because during the majority of the time of the Soviet Union's history, protests like that would not have been tolerated. People would have been brutally crushed to keep the Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact together.
Thank you. And third question: what was your reactions and thoughts to the collapse of the Soviet Union when you heard about it on the news?
I was ecstatic. I thought that we were coming to a more peaceful era where we can have some kind of international cooperation and maybe the United Nations could finally work and we could have some kind of more international law and order without being at each other's throats. But on retrospect, I realized that the fall of the Soviet Union has brought more chaos to the world. In that
Okay,
fact,
and okay, why is that?
because it seems that one one half of the world order has fallen and nothing has replaced it. The Soviet Union kept brutally, but kept order in probably one half of the world.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Baltain. It was a pleasure as always.